Hello world, this is Zan playing Late Age Calum in Lucid's 2022 Dominions 5 tournament. This is turn 61, and it's a pretty exciting turn. There is a major battle now between myself and Abysia at the Citadel of Anuptia. Before we get there though, we need to talk about this Pingian Gembait. He brings in an Adept of the Silver Order with Ring of Returning and basic gear, and unfortunately, Wailing Winds and Army of Gold get cast. Something's going on with Dementia, but we'll be fine. So the Gembait is successful, and it's my own damn fault for not having a group of Flying Lancers or something on attack rear on turn 1, just to stop this kind of nonsense. He prepares to cast Solar Brilliance. I finish casting Army of Gold. That would have been bad if Solar Brilliance got off. I think I Soul Slay him or something hits him there, and he's off the field, but he does successfully Gembait me, which can make the next fight here at Anuptia pretty awkward because it is a major battle. So the Battle of Anuptia, this is now over the central citadel of Abysia, the entryway into his empire. If I control the citadel, I have access to all of his lands. On the first phase of battle, let me open up the turn timer. He is casting Relief, which usually a turn 1 relief signals he's going to want to try to do a fatigue play. I, on the other hand, am casting Wailing Winds because that's what Late Age Calum does. I have some air elementals, he has some fire elementals, the usual and nothing fancy. He's now casting Heat from Hell, which signifies, yes, it is a fatigue play, but it is already countered because I wanted to do Army of Gold, giving all of my units a lot of protection, especially these ice protection units that are otherwise not going to perform well in Heat 3, since this is his province. Luckily, I'm also casting Relief. I'm bringing over not this Harab Elder, who can be useful, but this Ivy King, thanks to these Boots of Quickness giving that move 12, was able to make it to the battle. He has cast Serpent's Blessing, and now he's casting Relief. I was really worried he was going to do a Foul Vapors Trap, because Abysia, although not known for it, has their Pretender, if I can find him, right here, with these pretty damn good paths. I'm not going to lie, for a Rainbow, this is pretty damn good. At Death 6, Nature 5 is powerful. But since he has Nature Water, I was worried he was going to Foul Vapors me the same way that Utgard had been previously. Instead, he casts Growing Fury, which is fine, because I'm casting Wailing Winds, so that's what you're supposed to do. Very good job. I managed to keep the battle at his mage line, which could have been bad if he had more fire mages. Thankfully, his mage core was mostly blood mages. It would be these guys who never got any protection. Interesting. You would think if they're going to do all these Fire Shield, Astral Shields, Iron Skin or something would be part of the equation to make them good blockers. And finally, we see Rigor Mortis. This is a very interesting one by Abysia because most of his army is living units. Half of my army are the undead, and I have a bunch of Necromancers. So it's definitely an interesting play by him, but I could see it working if he had more fire elementals, and if somehow they got summoned a few turns into Rigor Mortis. That way my units with their magic weapons would be asleep, but since the fire elementals themselves are inanimate, they're immune to the effects of Rigor Mortis, and they might actually do pretty well. Unfortunately, since I cast Relief, and I'm immune to, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm immune to his fire damage. My units have fire resistance due to Army of Gold. Even the Soulless that were out here at the beginning. It's going to be tough for him to actually kill most of my armor, or at least to win the fight. It'll definitely hurt. And we see now most of his mages are starting to rout, except for some that have been hit by Growing Fury, so they're coming back in to hit me with this little mace. I mean, a 23 damage mace is not bad, but though I think I've secured that the battle stays on his side of the field. My mage is safe. Some of them not on advances and cast spells, which is probably fine. It's probably the major casters that have done like an air elemental or a big battlefield buff, and then when they woke up, it was just in time for Rigor Mortis to set in. I don't think any other global enchantments have come in. It's now battle round 20, and I expect that most of his army should be asleep. There you go. Some of them are, some of them aren't. His relief caster's still up. His pretender is over here being defended by a fire elemental and a decent screen of units. There were some horrors that came in here. Maybe he was casting Call Horror at the beginning. These things are terrifying, but I'm glad they're on his side of the field and not mine. Some more water elementals. Surprised he has water elementals. Is that what this guy's casting? I'll never see it through this. But yeah, I can see where this play was going, and if he had a few more elementals, I think it would have been fine. His units are going to do good against mine, because although I have Army of Gold, the protection on my units is actually kind of poor. So even with Army of Gold, I'm barely past 20 protection. And his Berserking Axeman hit for 22 seems kind of low. I guess he doesn't have the strength buff. So it's definitely going to chip through the armor of my units and probably outright kill the Soulless. I can't imagine the Soulless have a lot. Oh, but it's about the same. Average protection, folks. Hilariously, at the end, the Ivy King moves up. He's not inanimate, despite being a bundle of trees, and just shotguns Storm of Thorns in the face. I think he, since most of the army is asleep, oh, he's just sleep cloud he probably threw out. He probably thought it was safe to move up and play around. It's a pretty slow fight. Most of his mages are now berserked as well, which is kind of cool. So they're also trying to just whack people rather than throw fire spells, but the amount of undead on my side of the field are really starting to ramp up. You've got to remember that although most of my army's alive, I do have some white mages. Especially this guy. So it was a really deadly play, and it's definitely taken a number on my army. If you notice, I barely have any flyers left. So it's a lot better than I expected he would have done, despite our tech disadvantage. You know, he's fighting Satis in a bloodbath for 50 turns, and I'm not. So I think he did fantastic. This, to me, was a really great battle by Abysia. Unfortunately, I did have some counters in place. Maybe I didn't foresee exactly how this battle was going to go, but I had an idea that he was going to cast, or that he could cast Heat from Hell. He was likely going to cast Fell Vapors, and I was just going to throw Army of Gold at him and see what happened. Ultimately, he does lose just about everything. His Pretender God got out, and maybe a handful of mages. Nothing too extreme. On my end of the field, I did take major losses, losing half my army, most of which were some of the living troops. So about 180, maybe more, maybe 200 actual area Spirehorn troops, since they're lightly armored. And that was with them having Army of Gold. Just goes to show that two-handed axes hit really hard when they have Berserking and they can't be rebelled. That's why I like those axe infantry over the Morning Star or the flail guys. I think I mentioned that recently. So pretty damn good battle. We get a bunch of loot because I think the Storm General was probably a thug, and he probably had a bunch of loot on his end. And Inuptia itself is now over here. So this is the center point of the Abyssian homeland, to say. And I've also done a surround to make sure that anyone who did retreat, including that Pretender God, is now dead. The fort is taken, and the surrounded provinces have been either raided by my own forces, or in this one case, with a double Demon Gate, was attacked by a Pyromancer. So I think there is here the further battle inside Inuptia. Nothing's in there. He sent all he had. Anyways, on to the rest of the turn. Mostly my research is summoning Fravashis. I finished researching blood, so I have access to vampires. And I'm site searching. So for those who don't know what a Fravashi is, you need Astral 3 and any of the Kalums. I think Raga can get them too. And it's this guy who's probably one of the best throne claimers in the game, because it's got fair hit points, high magic resistance, natural resistances, and more importantly, an absurd flying map move of 34. He has a boot slot, so you can further increase this to whatever your heart desires. So right now he's at 46, and he can go wherever he wants at that point. But if that wasn't enough, He also has the ability to Cloud Trapeze or teleport if you give him a booster. And since his chest slot is open, you can give him a Shade Mail and stealth him into a province as well. So I'm summoning some of these because I'm playing with the idea that if there is an opportunity for me to win and close out the game, I need to take it. I don't think, at this point in the game, I don't think that's where I'm going to be going, but I do want to be open to the possibility of sneaking in a throne rush. But it's ridiculously unlikely because Pan has all these enchantments. Atlantis and Midgard are fighting each other, and Pan's best war target is me. We'll see where that goes. As you saw earlier, another global enchantment came up. This is Vengeful Waters cast by Atlantis again, which ends up killing a bunch more mages here in this province. Most importantly is my prophet. From the beginning of the game, I had him equipped with a Smasher, but since it's an assassination battle, he's not really going to follow the script, and he's just going to try to cast spells. I don't know if he would have succeeded in winning if he would have just kept whacking this thing, but it was worth a shot. We still got a bunch of candles in this province of Summer Edge. There'd be no point, or I can't even claim the throne to get these guys, but if I did, there'd be no point in getting them because they would get killed immediately by an ice elemental or a water elemental, it doesn't matter. So it's really unfortunate overall. The rest of the battles aren't really important. Atlantis and Midgard are still going at it and ignoring my pleas that this Pan is in a position to just outright win the game if he is left to recruit. With his infinite gold, he's got probably 20,000, 25,000 good income right now. And if he's allowed to just recruit from all these forts that he has, he's been preparing this for a while. There's no way that the rest of us are going to be able to stop him. Especially if Midgard and Atlantis keep fighting and Pan just kind of 1v1s me. I don't think I would be able to defeat Pan. So it's tough. It's a very tough situation to be in right now. In the meantime, I'm going to keep my conquest of Abysia going. I'm going to do my best to power up as much as I can in preparation for this war against Pan. Now, it's kind of faulty logic here because there's no way I can outscale Gift of Nature's Bounty. And I don't know if I'd be able to dispel it. So really, I just need to prepare myself to hold off Pan as long as possible until these other guys can realize that they need to stop fighting each other and we need to either dispel Gift of Nature's Bounty or do something about Pangea. Anyways, that's turn 61, and I'll see you guys next time.